Good morning and welcome to our February 23rd MPO meeting. Thank you for joining us this morning. Please join us for a prayer from Pastor Jim Harp, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning, Pastor.
Let's pray. Father, thank you for this day and opportunity to meet again in this public meeting, first of this year, but I know there's a lot of committees and different meetings that go on behind the scenes that some of us aren't really aware of, Lord. So not only do I want to bring invocation for this meeting today, but I also want to continue to pray for all those meetings and all the people, Lord, behind the scenes that work hard for our community, for our county, Lord, to provide leadership, direction, and guidance, Lord. And I thank you for them. I thank you, God, for the blessing that it is to live here and to recognize, God, your presence in this beautiful place. But this morning, Lord, I do bring invocation. The scriptures that you've given me today as I was meditating on this time is Proverbs 16:9 that says, "In his heart a man plans his course, but the Lord determines his steps." Lord, that teaches me that we need to sync with you. We need to seek you for wisdom and direction so that our plans are in line with your plans. Your word says that your ways are above our ways, your thoughts are above our thoughts, as high as the heavens are above the earth. And your word also says that if any of us lack wisdom, that we're to ask you, and you give it freely and without reproach to those who ask in faith. And so, Lord, that would be the foundational prayer for all these that are elected and appointed to serve our community. And even today, God, I pray that your steps would be validated in the direction and the things that are done and the decisions that are made. Bless the families, Lord, especially of these folks here this morning. Guard them and protect them and bless them and provide for them. And may you be glorified in this day, in this meeting, in all that we do and say. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Vargas is excused. Commissioner Hurd?
Here.
Commissioner Hetherington is excused. Commissioner Capps?
Here.
Commissioner Campi?
Here.
Commissioner Collins?
Here.
Commissioner Mayfield?
Here.
Mayor DiPaolo?
Here.
Commissioner Reed?
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Excellent. We have a quorum.
And Madam Chair, if you don't mind, I just wanted to introduce a new MPO staff member. Bolivar Gomez is our new senior planner. He was here several years ago, and then now he's back, so we're glad to have him.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair. Item 8I is the special meeting recommendations for e-bike ordinances, and staff is recommending that perhaps that it's up to you all, but if you all may want to table this item. From my understanding, there are a couple of bills in the House that they're discussing regulations on e-bikes, and if we table it to the April meeting, you all will have that information as well as we can provide you with the recommendations from the advisory committees.
Sounds wise to me.
Motion for that? I'd make a motion that we table agenda item 8I until our April meeting for the special BPAC meeting recommendations for e-bike ordinances.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any objections? That motion passes unanimously. Any other changes?
No, not from staff.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So motion.
There's a motion and a second. Any objections? That motion passes unanimously. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from November 5, 2025?
Motion.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any objections? That motion passes unanimously. We'll take up election of officers.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to mention that we do have some public here that want to make comments, but not under item 7. They want to, from my understanding, want to make comments under item 8F, but I don't think, from my understanding, there's no one else that want to make general public comments.
Okay, so that's just one. Mr. Compton, you wish to speak under 8F? Okay, we'll do that. Ms. Beltran, who is eligible to be chair?
The two people that are not eligible are Commissioner Capps and Commissioner Reed, because the bylaws state that one has to be on the MPO board for either 2 years or have attended the MPOAC Institute training. So everybody meets those requirements. Next year, Commissioner Reed and Commissioner Capps, you all will be eligible. I did want to mention a couple of things about the officers. The one big thing, I guess a big thing that's kind of pending is the funding split with St. Lucie TPO. There is hopefully a meeting coming up between the chairs of the MPO as well as the St. Lucie TPO that will meet with the district secretary to talk about the funding split of the TMA funds. And also the chair is also the member of the statewide MPOAC and the regional Treasure Coast Transportation Council. So those meetings don't meet very often, but they are members of those two groups.
Commissioners, I have represented the MPO in the past at these discussions, and St. Lucie County, their MPO director is making the specious claim that Martin County's development patterns are causing the congestion in the northern part of Martin County and the southern part of St. Lucie County, disregarding tradition and Verano and everything else, and is trying to get the split to favor St. Lucie County even further. And those funds impact our TMA funds and all of our FDOT funds. So it's very important that we maintain our position. And since I've been your representative in the past, I'd be happy to continue to represent our MPO in those negotiations if it turns to that. And I think that it may go to that and stand to lose an awful lot of money if
You're live, you're good.
In light of that,
We have a light.
oh, you have a light.
Commissioner Campy.
In light of that, I see your point, and obviously, we're not allowed to speak to each other outside of the meetings or know what each other's opinions are. I was looking to actually create a new opportunity for some of our new members, but I do agree with what you're saying. I have been party to those conversations that our neighbors to the north are looking. They have a larger portion of the pie as it stands even today, and they want a bigger piece. So I would make a motion for Commissioner Hurd to stay on, because I agree that any one of us would do a good job of chairing these meetings, managing the meetings, but the inside history of that and knowing who the cast of characters are would be valuable. So I would make a motion that you, since you are willing, to remain the chair and that Mayor DiPaolo become the vice chair.
Second.
Do you need two different
Would you like
motions for
separate
the chair,
motions?
vice chair? It's good in one.
Well, it could be the same.
And my
motion.
rationale for Mayor DiPaolo is that the second biggest issue that's been an issue for quite a while is the 710 and Tommy Clemens and things that.
609 is going to be an issue.
Yeah,
too.
and the reconfiguration of 714 to 710. Most of our biggest issues are happening out in Indiantown. And I think that he would be an excellent representative on his way, and he's available every meeting that I have been at or have seen. The mayor has an unbelievable ability to attend hundreds of meetings, which is also an important part of the position.
Madam Chair, I just didn't know if there was any other nominations for either of those offices. So, I mean, in the past, you all have done it as one motion, and you all have done it as separate motions, so that would be the only thing if there's any other nominations.
Well, we're having a conversation, so we're open.
I see a light. Commissioner Collins.
I was just going to say, I completely agree. I think you'd be a huge asset continuing in that role. So I don't think we'd be better represented by anybody else. My only question would be, are you up for the new challenge at vice chair?
I'm always up for a challenge.
There you go.
And
All right.
I agree. I think Commissioner Hurd, you've got the experience, you've got the time, you know the issues, and I think that Martin County as a whole is at a critical point right now where we need everything that we can get, and I support you in that role.
By the way, so this proportionate split, right now, it's St. Lucie County's getting 68%, which is huge, and they want 71. Because
Yeah, we
we're
can't let that
causing
happen.
so much traffic in their county.
I'm comfortable you'll ask the questions and go to war where it counts. So
Okay.
We got
Commissioner Reed?
I'd support the motion for the chair and the vice chair, and you bring up a good point, Commissioner Hurd. I don't think it's just a dollar perspective as well. Like, as far as planning for us on the MPO board, something that I've thought about quite a bit is everybody that moves here, they move here for a reason, and it's because we're small, we limit growth, and the quality of life, in my opinion, is way better here in Martin County than St. Lucie County, but how do we protect the residents that live here with our long-range planning with infrastructure? Because every time it gets discussed, whether it's through election times or the MPO board or social media, it's constantly about traffic, but what are we truly doing to fix it? Because apparently if we're a pass-through county for counties north and south of us and west of us, how do we fix it? Are we the only county in the state of Florida that deals with this, the country? What are their MPO boards doing, or what are their elected officials doing to protect us? I think that's something that should be discussed as well, instead of just passing it off year after year. I've seen it my entire life living here. It used to take 10 minutes to go from Jensen to Palm City. That same route takes sometimes 45 minutes to get out to western Palm City. I just don't think it's acceptable as a taxpayer. And my taxes continue to rise and my quality of life continues to go down. And I think most residents probably feel the same way. I think that's something we should be looking forward to fixing, though. And I see some might disagree with that, but yes, my quality of life has gone down considerably with traffic around town, fatalities, and I don't know. I think that's something we should problem solve. That's all I have to say.
There's a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes unanimously.
Also, as part of this item, the board is to appoint the chair of the local coordinating board for the transportation disadvantaged. The current chair is Mayor DiPaolo, and it's up to you all how you want to move forward with
Mayor
that.
DiPaolo, how do you feel about continuing to be the chair?
I'm good with that, yes.
So we're good?
You have to take a vote.
I'd make a motion that Mayor DiPaolo remain chair of the Transportation Disadvantage.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any opposition? That motion passes unanimously.
Okay. And just one more item under this agenda item is the chair and the vice chair are historically have been the members of the Treasure Coast Transportation Council, and that's a regional council that Martin MPO, two members of Martin MPO meet with St. Lucie TPO and Indian River MPO. I do ask that two alternates are appointed, so we'll always have the Martin MPO represented, fully represented.
Anybody want to raise their hand? Commissioner Mayfield?
As an alternate?
Yep. Anybody else?
I know Commissioner Heatherington, not to, just FYI, Commissioner Heatherington has been an alternate in the past, and she has seemed to enjoy it.
Okay.
Make a motion that we add Commissioner Mayfield and retain Commissioner Heatherington
Okay.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any opposition?
as alternates to the TPO.
Yeah. Any opposition? That motion passes unanimously. We done?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's move on to 8B, which is a public hearing to amend the Transportation Improvement Plan.
Yes, this is to make.
I'm sorry, one
the-
moment. Would you like to move seats and have the mayor sit here as the vice?
Sure.
That's normal. All right, at the next meeting, we'll do that then.
Okay.
This is a request from FDOT. It is to make the Martin MPO's Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP, consistent with the state TIP or STIP. And it is to add a project for guardrails along I-95. Staff is recommending approval of this, and FDOT representatives are here in case you have any questions.
Any questions? Is there a motion to approve the FY 26 through 30
Motion.
tip amendment?
Motion.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any opposition? That motion passes unanimously. We'll go on to item C, which is safety performance targets.
Yes, this item you all see every year. It's to adopt safety targets for US DOT's performance measures regarding safety. In the years past, as well as the other MPOs, almost all the MPOs in the state have adopted the state's Vision Zero targets or zero targets for the safety measures that the US DOT has put in place. That is staff's recommendation again this year, and it's adopting the philosophy that no death or injury of any person is acceptable.
Any questions, comments? Is there a motion to adopt?
Move approval.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any opposition? That motion passes unanimously. We'll now move on to the draft FY 28 through 32 list of project priorities, page 26.
Okay, so this item actually has two lists, and these are draft lists that FDOT asks, the district asks that the MPO adopt in February or before March 1st in order to clearly and comprehensively vet all of the projects so they can assign funding to see what funding these projects are eligible for. I will go over each list and then if you all don't mind passing a motion separately for each of the lists. The first list is the roadway list, and this is similar to what it was last year, but I do want to say the draft lists are coming to you now. The final list will come to you in June. That's when the draft will become final at your June meeting. Just to let you know, this list has changed, though, in that in the past years, State Road 710 widening as well as the realignment of Martin Highway were the top priorities, and those projects have been funded for construction. So now the widening of Cove Road has moved up to number one. The second item on this list is Commerce Avenue, the resurfacing and roadway leveling of that roadway. Number three is the widening of High Meadow Avenue. This project does have funding for both design and right-of-way acquisition, but it's still waiting for construction funding. The next item, number four, is the Alapata Road resurfacing from 710 to north of Minute Maid Road. Number five is a new project on the priority list, and it's a result of the county submitting an application for a passenger rail station and rail safety improvements along the FEC corridor. That's number five. Number six is the US 1 at Palm City Road project. This project has changed a little bit in that FDOT also has a project near here at an intersection of US 1 and Canner Highway. At that project, FDOT is adding triple lefts turning from Canner Highway onto US 1 going towards the Roosevelt Bridge. Included in that project is a dedicated right-hand turn lane that will help the mobility of that intersection. However, in looking at the future traffic projections, both the local government, local staff, as well as FDOT have said that dedicated right turn lane probably needs to be longer to help the mobility better. And so the recommendation is to have that dedicated right turn lane extend all the way to the intersection of US 1 and Palm City Road. That will not only help the mobility along US 1, Canner, and tremendously, but it also will help the concerns along Palm City Road that we have run into. The residents along that road want to deter traffic along that road as well as slow people down. FDOT has, a few meetings ago, presented improvement of that intersection that would slow people down, but certainly having an option of a dedicated right turn lane going up to Canner will also could deter people as using that roadway as well. So that's been the change to the item number six, project number six. Number seven is also a resurfacing project on Alapata that's from Minute Maid up to the St. Lucie County line. Number 8 is resurfacing of Pomeroy Street. Number 9 is actually is near this building. It's the mast arm that's on the corner of East Ocean and Monterey. It's blocking the sidewalk. So local staff has spoken to FDOT. They've done a site visit, and they said really it would be a lot less expensive to realign the sidewalk in that area than to actually move the big utility pole, the mast arm. So that project is a priority because it was recommended by FDOT when they did their roadway safety audit on East Ocean. And the local government voiced concerns about that power pole. They recommended that it go on the list because it is a significant project. Number 10 is Martin Highway. It's the resurfacing. This is a new project on the list. It's resurfacing from Fox Brown to just west of I-95. Number 11 is Citrus Boulevard, resurfacing from 710 to Hemingway Terrace. Number 12 is mid-block pedestrian crosswalks. That has been on the list for a number of years, and as a result that it being on the list, even though FDOT has said in the past that mid-block crosswalks are not warranted, they do every few years evaluate this area because they know of that more people are in this area, more people are walking in this area, and it is a result of the roadway safety audit that I mentioned on East Ocean. They are evaluating mid-block crossings along East Ocean. Number 13, I want to talk a little bit about number 13 after I finish going through all the projects on this list. We did get a letter regarding the Willoughby extension from the city of Stuart, so I'll talk about that in a minute. That's been on the list a number of years. Number 14, North Sewell's Point mitigate for sea level rise project. From what I understand, the county and the city, or the county and the town of Sewell's Point are working that out. There's another funding source available that I think they're and considering going after for these funds, but that has been on the list for a number of years. The next item, item 15, is the project on Bridge Road for the Bascule Bridge to replace the bridge. As you remember at the last meeting, FDOT did have a presentation which recommended not replacing the bridge. They thought it was in good condition. In talking internally with staff, it might be a good idea to leave this on the list in case something comes up in the future as far as needing funds, and it will also cause FDOT to continually evaluate the bridge like they do the mid-block crossings if it's on the list. Number 16 is complete street improvements along Palm City Road between US 1 and Monterey. That came out of the project that we had done that I mentioned previously at the intersection of US 1 and Palm City Road. And then the last item on the list, number 17, got moved down to last on the list, and that's a dedicated right turn lane at South River Drive. So I did want to add about the Willoughby extension in front of you. We passed out a letter from the city of Stuart that I received on Friday, stating that the City Commission is supporting the no-build alternative for the Willoughby Boulevard Extension PD&E study. Because this is a draft list, and because FDOT, from what I understand, as part of that PD&E study, did a traffic report, my recommendation would be that we ask FDOT, the project manager and the consultant, to come here and give you all the results of the traffic report. I think that might be interesting for you all. As mentioned earlier, traffic is a big concern in this area. I know we probably have all gotten emails or calls about traffic on Canner Highway, about traffic at the intersection of US 1 and Canner, US 1 and Monterey, Monterey and Canner Highway, and all those intersections, that area, those could be impacted by an extension of the Willoughby Boulevard. And in the traffic report, even though FDOT gave a presentation not too long ago on the Willoughby extension, it was more comprehensive and they hadn't finished the traffic report. The traffic report really would offer numbers and data for you all to kind of listen to and find out, well, if the Willoughby extension is built, this is how traffic could change. But if it's not built, this is what will happen. It's just an option to give you all more time to get more information before you adopt the final list in June. That would be staff recommendations. So with that, I want to stop there and let you all ask any questions if you have any questions, and discuss the list that I just presented.
Commissioner Reed.
Yeah, I have a couple highlights. Beth, this is for clarification. On number 5, is this for the passenger rail station itself, plus the safety improvements on the rail?
Correct. From what I understand, the application, the grant application that the county submitted includes safety improvements along the rail corridor as well as a passenger rail station.
So my comments for that is I don't think this board should be supporting a passenger rail station there. I saw a news article come out for almost $90 million to build that station. Brightline also increased their prices 1,400% back in 2024. I don't think many residents are going to afford to use it, and the taxpayers, it's going to cost them a ton of money. As far as, and I don't see the rail bridge on here, but taxpayers are funding 90% of that rail bridge as well, and Brightline and FEC are contributing 10%, and they operate it 100%. I think that's uncalled for. And this is for clarification too, Beth. On number 12, the Kingswood Terrace and St. Lucie Boulevard, is this similar to the Golden Gate project that happened on Dixie with the mid-block pedestrian crosswalks, or no?
This was, years ago, the MPO did a study of all the modes of transportation that were along East Ocean from St. Lucie Boulevard to Monterey, and then from Monterey to Kingswood Terrace. And as a result of that traffic study, it was recommended that we have mid-block crossings along East Ocean, because if you think of where the crossings are for pedestrians, there's one at Monterey and East Ocean, and the next one is down further east at that gas station, that it would be safer to have a mid-block crossing along there. So, because there are people that just cross the street between those intersections, between those lights, as well as on Monterey Road, between the intersection of East Ocean and Monterey and Kingswood Terrace. There are people that just cross the street. I mean, you probably see them outside this building where they will just cross the street, and there's no pedestrian crossing, there's no protection, and the traffic can get pretty heavy out there. So we probably did that study 12 years ago or so, and since that time, it's been on the list, and FDOT has evaluated it every few years, and then that was why we had the roadway safety audit, because of this project.
Yeah.
And then that's when what came out of that was the moving of the mast arm, or moving of the sidewalk around the mast arm at that corner, as well as a potential mid-block crossing in that area.
All right. My only concern for that is if it's similar to like Golden Gate with all the pedestrian crosswalks, I think it almost causes more of an issue with vehicle pedestrians, and I think it causes more people to change lanes, to speed around the person slowing down. That's my opinion, and they might not see the pedestrians crossing. And then obviously 13, I know the letter of where the city is, and we're just trying to give the residents what they want. I would have supported the Willoughby Road extension more if the city had kept it more of a commercial corridor along Central Parkway, but now there's way too many multifamily and residents that live there. And then the unfunded safety priority list, we'll do that after this one, correct?
This is an unfunded safety priority list, and so is the other one. It's just a different funding source.
So number 1 through 4, you mentioned those.
I'm sorry?
On the unfunded safety priority list where there's 4?
Yes, okay, so if you go to the top of this list, and
Okay.
the other one.
The only thing that I would want to contribute.
This project, all of these projects
on
on this
there?
are all
Okay.
unfunded. They're not, that means unfunded means they're not funded for construction, and they are, all these projects are in the long-range transportation plan.
All right, so
But
the only thing that I would contribute then is at our joint meeting, they mentioned Citrus Grove Elementary on Newfield Parkway. I think that should be a priority as well, because all the traffic coming from St. Lucie County, and they're speeding down Newfield to get into Martin County, so I think that should be a safety priority as well. And that's all I have to say.
Commissioner Collins.
So, a few things. One, with regard to the FEC bridge. With the FEC bridge, in the same way that the passenger rail station and improvements lives on this list, should the FEC bridge also at some point populate and live in this list as well?
Yeah, that project could be on this list. I wasn't kind of in that is in our long-range transportation plan. It's
What would
approved-
trigger its coming to existence on this list?
This board.
Okay. Is that something we should do today?
That is something that would be, yes, that would be probably very helpful to have this approve that as part of the draft list.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it comes back to you in June, you all can adopt the list.
You would get all the details and make
Yeah,
it
this is the
buttoned up?
draft list.
Because that should live up there pretty high on the
okay.
list, would be my thoughts. With regard to 13 and the Willoughby extension, you had mentioned bringing forward the traffic information. Was there also environmental impact research that was done with regard to that?
If the consultant comes, which if we request
I think it would be
that,
good to also present that, because it would be basically bulldozing a park and then that watershed there for Poppleton Creek. So I'd be really curious what the environmental impact study looked like.
Okay,
if
they
there
probably
was one.
have an update
Yeah,
since the
yeah.
last presentation.
And then, in terms of us jockeying for different items, I was curious what happened to Complete Streets on Palm City Road that's now 16, how it went from 8 to 16. And
Why it moved down the list?
yeah,
That
I'm sure there was
requi-
context, but I'm curious what.
That is, number 16 is a project that became a project because of the intersection of US 1 and Palm City Road. We had we had two very big open houses as part of our study. And so public comment was how that came on the list, because people were not only concerned about the intersection, but people
slowing
were
it down.
concerned about the roadway. That is a county road in the city of Stuart, so there needs to be a discussion between those two entities that decide what the scope of the project would be. So the MPO did do a study several years ago for Complete Streets, not of several roadways, and that was one of the illustrative projects in that study. So it did have recommendations. So there's just more information. So if we get more, so if the MPO gets more information from
So is it less about the funding and more so about collaboration between what the vision is between the city and county?
Correct. If they want to move ahead with that project, it'd be, like I said, because it's a county street owned by the county, but it's in the city of Stuart, they need to decide what would the scope would be for that project. Because in order for a project to get on this list, there needs to be a scoping form. FDOT needs to have information about the project so they can vet it to see what funding is, what funding that project is eligible for. That's why we're doing, to go through the draft now, and then we'll come back for the final list in June.
From what I hear from residents, that's a really big one, is slowing down the traffic there. So how, if it were to, in order to get the ball rolling on that and create that collaborative.
So if the city commission wanted to write a letter to the county and ask them that they wanted to talk, that they would hope to move ahead
Yes.
with number 16, that, I think probably the first steps would be the staff could talk together about what would be the scope of that project, and then the two commissions could eventually come to an agreement, and then that would be part of the scoping form that would be submitted for
Until then, it
possible
makes
funding.
more sense to have it live down on the bottom of the list, basically, until there's that collaborative vision.
This
is the
has
idea.
been a project for a few years, so because there's the most important thing is that it's on this list. If it's on this list, that is where it needs to be for now. So once that conversation or it gets rolling, if you will, starts moving forward, then it would potentially be able to be further up the list.
And then, obviously, with item 12, any pedestrian safety project I would like to see moving higher up and not lower down. So we went from 9 to 12.
For that one, because once again, there's
know.
really been no movement on that list. FDOT is we're waiting for FDOT to come back with their evaluation of the mid-block crosswalks, and when they do,
It'll bump back
that's,
up?
yeah,
it.
exactly. Yeah, they were kind of in, the ones down at the bottom, there's, as you see Willoughby's down at the bottom, there's something going on where we're kind of in a waiting game. We're waiting for kind of something that's why it's down at the bottom now. Between now and June, if something were to happen and you all wanted to move something up the list or change the projects, you all have that opportunity.
Thank you. That was all.
Commissioner Mayfield.
Yes, thank you. The Willoughby extension, I appreciate the letter from the city of Stuart because it's in their jurisdiction, but I do like your idea of seeing the traffic report and because it is a congested area. So I support that. I have a question, kind of more just a why question for the FEC Railroad. Is the actual, you have the words, the actual passenger rail station. Is it just because it's a transportation building that it's on there? Because I've never seen an actual building, you know, these are always road projects or, so, but we have the actual building on here. Is it because it's a train station and that's special?
That would be, the passenger rail is a form of transit.
Correct.
So it's a form of transportation.
Correct.
And because a local government has submitted an application for federal funding, and part of that process is to have it on the list of project priorities, like with the bridge. I mean, that may be something you all want to add on this. I have not gotten any kind of notification that, an application has been submitted and and in that case, it should be on the list. Both of those projects are in the adopted long-range transportation plan,
We have. It's been sent in
the application.
for the bridge.
Okay, so that would be
Okay.
absolutely, that because that's one of when the federal highway or federal railroad or whoever has the application, they have a checklist with the application, and one thing they would want to see that it's in the adopted MPO's long-range plan as well as on a list of project priorities.
Okay, no, I get that, and I'm okay with the FEC bridge on there also. I was just curious to have an actual building, since I don't think
Because
FDOT builds
it's a
buildings.
transportation facility.
Correct,
It's
okay.
a transit facility, yeah.
That's it, thank you.
Yeah, I think would be prudent to add the FEC bridge to our priority list. And also, I share Commissioner Reed's hesitation to recommend mid-block crossings. I drive through Golden Gate at least twice a day, and I'm very mindful of the speed limit, and I'm very mindful of those mid-block crossings, and I'm the only person who is. And I see those lights flashing, and if it's dusk or it's rainy, nobody else is seeing them, and there's somebody who's stepping into the roadway, and I just pray that they get safely across. It's unsafe. So I'm a little reluctant to endorse any mid-block crossings. I think they're inherently unsafe. I get it that people need to cross the street, but we're not programmed. We think that the cars have the right of way. We're programmed to think that pedestrians are secondary to the necessity of us getting to our destination. So, any interest in adding the FEC bridge to the list?
Yes.
Everybody want to?
You need a motion from us, or?
Sure, I mean, if you approve the draft list, part of that motion can be to add the rail bridge to that.
Got it.
Mr. Campy?
I guess we're at the point of making motions, am I correct? I make a motion that we adopt this list, adding the FEC Railroad Bridge over the St. Lucie to the list. And then the rest of it was conversation to Commissioner Reed's point about Citrus Newfield Parkway. I did see the conversation at the joint meeting. That's in District 5. We have been working with our traffic engineering folks and our Public Works Department. We have made a couple of changes at that crosswalk for the Citrus Grove Elementary School, reconfiguring how the sidewalk approached the road. There is a traffic signal there and a crossing guard. I spoke with our engineer, our county engineer this morning, and he will be prepared to make a presentation at our next meeting. So I think it probably won't need to be on this list for a long-term kind of thing. I think we're going to have a shorter-term solution than having to add it to this multi-year list. So I'd make a motion to accept it, including the FEC.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? There's a motion and a second. Any objections?
No.
That motion passes with Commissioner Reed dissenting.
Okay. The next list is the draft unfunded safety priority list. As you remember, last year, the traffic administrator for Martin County presented the first item on this list because the county was submitting an application for the safety improvements along local roadways, which is what this funding source is for. And that's for Dixie Highway from Osprey to Gleason, and it's to improve the intersections along Dixie Highway where the roadway intersects with the FEC Railroad. The two next items on the list, the railroad crossing at Amaryllis Avenue at the CSX crossing, as well as the Bridge Road dedicated left turn lane at Power Line. Those are new projects, or new applications, or scoping applications that will be submitted to FDOT for those improvements. Just as a side note, the Amaryllis Avenue at the CSX crossing, the crash data shows that's the fourth most dangerous crossing in the state. So that's certainly a safety project that needs some attention, and that's to add railroad crossing gates. And like I said, number 3 at Bridge Road, that's a dedicated left turn lane at Power Line. The fourth item is actually a signage project, and it was on there last year. That is primarily for non-motorized transportation, that it's crossing the railroad tracks, where sometimes, especially like the Bright Line, there'll be a northbound and a southbound train coming within a short time of one another, so the gates remain closed. There has been incidents in other areas where a pedestrian, one train will go by, and then the pedestrian will go to cross the tracks and get hit by the second train that'll be going in the other direction. So there's second train incoming warning signs to let people know that the gates are staying down because the second train is coming. So I'll be happy to answer any questions about these projects, and staff is recommending approval of this list.
Commissioner Capps, at the board meeting, the last board meeting that we had, we approved a marvelous project in Hobe Sound, the car storage, and that has turn lanes. Is one of the turn lanes, or both of them, onto Power Line?
No, that project would be a mile or so east of Power Line.
Okay.
But we're very excited about the prospect of getting a turn lane at Power Line, though, because that's a very dangerous condition.
The crash data shows that there have been several rear-end crashes because people will be sitting in the through lane waiting to turn left, and they'll get hit from behind. Yeah.
And also regarding number 4, railroad crossing improvements, I was talking to Jim Gorton recently of Public Works, and there were other types of improvements where we're pursuing grants for railroad crossings, and now that would be different than the second train incoming warning
Yes.
system. This is just for the second train
That's
incoming
just the
warning system.
signage. Yes, the other one is the from the prior list, the rail safety improvements along the corridor. This one is just for the signage.
Anything we can do to improve the safety at these crossings would be a wonderful thing. I'm very mindful of the danger of the crossings in Hobe Sound in particular. We have 5 crossings that are very close to Dixie Highway where cars can't stack up. So we think this is very needed. So that's a good thing.
Any further questions or comments? You need a motion to approve
Yes.
these?
I'll make a motion to approve the fiscal year 28-32 unfunded safety priority list.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Commissioner Mayfield, any further comments? This is like just to make the motion.
Correct.
There's a motion and a second. Any objections? That motion passes unanimously. We'll now move on to Transportation Alternatives Program project application.
Okay. Yes, we have the Capital Projects Division staff here to present this item. This is a funding source that is a formula funding source that MPO does a call for projects every year, and this is the application that we received. So I will turn it over to you all to make that presentation.
Morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having us here. We're here to present our Palm Lake Park Sidewalk Project, which is...
Your name, please.
Oh, yes, sorry. I'm Jamie Polidoro. I'm with Capital Projects with Martin County. This is for the 2026 FDOT Transportation Alternatives Application Cycle for fiscal year 30 funding. So the Transportation Alternative Set-Aside Program is a program which is reimbursable federal aid administered by the Florida Department of Transportation. And this supports smaller scale, non-traditional transportation projects, which focuses on activities that expand and integrate non-motorized travel choices and provide safe routes for non-drivers. The accessibility improvements are also included to help comply with the ADA requirements. And such of these may be on and off-road bike and ped facilities, accessibility improvements compliant with ADA, and recreational trails. So within Palm Lake Park, the existing conditions, it's just west of US 1, north of the Roosevelt Bridge. And the neighborhood has one entrance adjacent to US 1, which is a major arterial roadway. And the missing sidewalk links exist within the Palm Lake Park neighborhood with no connection points to the existing sidewalk on US 1. Additionally, the Palm Lake Park residents have identified critical safety concerns for pedestrians and children walking with no sidewalk or buffer from vehicular traffic. The proposed sidewalk project will provide safe ADA-compliant connection points to US 1 for pedestrians, bicyclists, and other non-drivers. And just to show a little bit about the connectivity for the neighborhood, it's adjacent to a Martin County bus stop, the middle school and high school bus stops, as well as a close proximity to an elementary school, shopping plaza with grocery store, shopping plaza with a fitness center, and it's a mile to the nature preserve and just under 2 miles to the shopping mall.
Hi, I'm Keith Baker. I'm the Capital Project Administrator. I'm just going to go over sort of the route and what the proposed improvements would look like. There's a map up on your screen. It's in the heavy black line. Is the proposed path. It would be approximately 6-foot wide concrete path along Northwest 13th Terrace. This would tie in near the existing Marty bus stop you can see depicted with the blue dot. Also along that route, the red dot is representing the school bus stop, the existing school bus stop. And then when it connects to the sort of around the retention pond on Northwest Crescent Drive and Northwest Palm Lake Drive, the path would be a little bit wider, thinking just in terms of maybe like more of a recreational type facility. We got feedback for both. We had people in another public involvement meeting. We had some folks that requested a narrower at 6 foot, but we also had people that wanted an 8 to 10 foot wide concrete path around the pond. For recreational type purposes. I think that kind of describes the improvements. And with that, is there any questions about the project?
Questions?
More so for feedback, when like some of these capital improvement projects, when you say like the neighborhood and stuff, they contact the county, if stuff like that could be added to the agenda packet, it just helps just to see what the residents are saying. Because we're hearing it presented from staff and stuff, which is great, but it'd be nice to see what their concerns are, just for future agenda packet stuff.
Yeah, we have those minutes, so we'll make sure we in the future include our sort of minutes of the previous meetings.
Okay, awesome.
I had a question.
Yes, Commissioner Capps.
Yeah, I'm looking at the funding allocation, several pages in, and it says that the cost of construction is $914,000.
Yes, sir.
Right. Do we know about, is there like a standard cost for sidewalk construction? So much per foot or something? Do we know about what that is?
I could provide that to you. I could take the last few. examples and maybe break it down per linear mile. This one is probably a little bit more because a typical sidewalk is around 6 feet, where this one I think is 10 feet around the lake. So it'd be like, almost double the amount of concrete. So, but I could provide this to you.
You know, sometimes when we see numbers like this, the first thought is, that seems way out of line, crazy, like how could it cost this much? But there are other things that go into the cost of something like this, like the design costs are a very large component of it.
Yes.
And then, do you have to get right-of-way and permission to go into people's yards and stuff like that? That's another whole phase of cost. that
On
goes
these
into-
types of grants, with regard to right-of-way, is we have to have all of the right-of-way existing to be able to apply for the grant. We can't have like a right-of-way acquisition be part of a federal grant, or we could, but it would be very cumbersome, and we don't do that. So we have the existing right-of-way in place to accommodate any of these projects.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Campy?
Thank you for your work. During your presentation, you were saying certain residents were interested in 6 feet and others liked it to be larger. I get the concept of creating sort of a public space or a exercise walking path around that lake's probably very pretty. We did something similar in Palm City. I think 10 feet wide is probably dramatic overkill, especially considering you don't have a universal support of the neighbors, and I'm sure that the $900,000 price tag is obviously based on pouring concrete. So, I mean, I don't know how far along you are, but I would make a recommendation that we scale that sidewalk, narrow it, maybe not to 6, but at least to 8. I think that's more aligned. You know, if I'm interested in 6 feet and you went to 8, I'd be like, well, that didn't go my way. But if you go to 10, and then for $900,000, I get a lot of its engineering and site work, but I think the meat and potatoes is probably literally the product that you're pouring. I would make a recommendation that we scale that back to 8 and bank the savings. Or apply for less money in a grant.
All right.
How's the timing for that? Is this a good time to be making a recommendation?
Yeah, this is
to
very
reduce
early.
the
This
scope
is
of
a
the project?
conceptual design is for the grant application. So yeah, all these things, this is part of the public involvement, and then, so this is the perfect time.
Another question, more for, I guess, our chair or for Ms. Beltran. Is this going to come to the commission as well, or is this being decided right here?
It was already presented to the commission, or is that on tomorrow's agenda?
We presented earlier this month to the other committees.
To the Board of County Commissioners?
I don't remember this.
Catherine,
It said December 9th, a resolution of support was heard by the Board of County Commissioners.
I don't remember this presentation happening
I don't
like
either.
this.
Must have been on consent.
Could have been, I read obviously through the consent agenda, maybe missed the nuance of a 10-foot wide sidewalk. But if that's the case and we have some flexibility to do it here, I would make a motion that we scale this back from 10 to 8 and either apply for less or apply for the grant and whatever the match was, or if there's a way to take it out of dollars that are already in our budgets here or in your department's budget. Not trying to like throw a stick in the spokes of this project, just sounds like 10-foot sounds like a grand promenade to me.
Chair, sorry, I'm interrupting, but on your agenda item, it says new 6-foot wide sidewalk. So is it already set at 6 foot? Or is that just?
It's 6 foot along 13th Avenue. I think there might be two
Oh, so you're
typical
talking about the
sections in
parts on the
there.
side, okay.
But we definitely hear you, and then we can make that adjustment to make sure it's 8 feet wide.
Well, if my colleagues agree, I'm just putting out a suggestion.
Yeah, is there a second?
I'm happy to second.
Commissioner Capps?
I'm not opposed to reducing the width of the sidewalk unless there's some reason why it was supposed to be 10. I know that like the Florida East Coast Greenway sidewalks that are being put in from the state of Maine down into the state of Florida, and, you know, there's a piece of it going into Hobe Sound soon. The standard for that is 10 feet wide for various types of uses. Like it's a multi-use trail where you're preparing for, bicyclists and rollerbladers and people with other modes of transportation, and there's a reason for it to be wide. Is there a compelling reason for it to be wide?
This particular project isn't subject to the sun trail requirements of 10 or 12 feet. As far as like in the Federal Highway Administration Green Book, it says like a multi-use trail. It should be 10 or 12 to accommodate the recreational uses, but it shall be at least 8. As far as legally, I think putting, like if someone rides a bicycle on it, it needs to be 8-foot minimum. So like that would be the sort of legal requirement to make it be a recreational type facility.
Okay.
Commissioner Reed?
Yeah, for Commissioner Capps, I think the 10-foot too it might be a Florida statute for golf carts. They're allowed on sidewalks, I believe, if it's minimum 10 foot. So I see that a lot too.
In certain areas of the county, regardless of what you do about golf carts and what the rules are, people use them and they get them out on sidewalks. And, I live in Hobe Sound and I walk to the beach a lot and I'm on these sidewalks and I'm very aware of the dangers these days. Somebody's going to get clipped from from behind by an e-bike. It's just a matter of time. And, golf carts are all over the place these days. And people like to take them down to the beach and stuff. And so that's a thought about the width of sidewalks. There are additional and new safety concerns about sidewalks, so I think we ought to consider that. But I think 8 feet wide is probably adequate. But in the future, when we're talking about sidewalk width, we probably need to factor in these new realities that we're living with now.
Sounds like the golf cart lobby has gotten to Commissioner Capps, and Commissioner Campy's on his own out there. I think if you're on a golf cart, you're probably going to be riding around in those streets. That's what I've done. I don't know that they're going to be jumping onto that little, well, maybe large, wide sidewalk. And if it can save taxpayers some money, I made the second, but I'm all for slightly narrowing that.
Commissioner Mayfield?
Sorry, I forgot that there was a second, so I was going to second. And Vice Chair, your motion was the 6 feet on the lengthwise, but then the other sides would be 8 feet. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
We clear?
Yep.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
A question,
Aye.
so, I got a question. So it's 8, it would be 8 foot on 2 sides and then one side 6 foot?
Two sides.
It's like 8 foot for the portion around the retention pond and then 6 feet along Northwest 13th Terrace.
6 foot along 13th Terrace.
It's just because that's a narrow right-of-way, and then 8 feet wouldn't be practical in that along 13th Terrace.
Why not make it 6 foot? I mean, my comment would be 6 foot all the way around then. I think it's weird to go from 8 to 6 to 10 to 8, and that's my opinion, though.
But to his point, you need 8-foot minimum for
Bicycle.
Grant?
bikes.
Or the bikes.
And for the grant.
Is that's like is it like new code, I guess, like if you're redoing sidewalks? We have
No, it's-
sidewalks where down US 1, I don't think they're 8 foot, are they?
I think people ride bikes on them all the time. It says like just legally you're not supposed to.
Oh, wow. All right.
And the nature of this grant is that it's a recreational sidewalk?
They're just kind of the more, not the, I wouldn't say the grant itself, just based on other feedback that we got, people wanted to utilize the area. Right now, there's like picnic benches and things like that around the lake. So as part of the grant, the picnic benches are in pretty rough shape. So in there is to put some new picnic benches, just kind of the thought of a recreational trail around the lake is where the 8 feet comes from.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
It's a great idea.
Any further discussion? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next is the Safe Routes to School project, Northeast Rose Tree Drive and Northeast Lake Drive sidewalk. I have one request to speak for. Mr. Compton, would you like to speak at the beginning or at the end of our discussion? After the discussion? Okay.
The Safe Routes to School funding is also federal funding, and this is discretionary funding, so it's different from the TAP funding that was in the previous agenda item, and the Capital Projects Division staff will present this item as well.
Hello, Jamie Polidora, again from Capital Projects. So this is our 2026 FDOT Safe Routes to School grant application, and it is Northeast Rose Tree Drive and Northeast Lake Avenue sidewalk project. So the Florida Safe Routes to School program, just a little background information on it. In 1969, nearly 50% of all students walked or rode a bicycle to school, and by 2009, the number dropped to fewer than 15%. With fewer students walking or bicycling to school, it adversely affected traffic, air quality, and bicycle and ped safety in communities. And this program, Safe Routes to School, aims to reverse these effects by making walking and bicycling to school safer and easier for primary and secondary school students. The program itself is sponsored by the Florida Department of Transportation and provides technical and funding support to the communities. And the goals are to enable and encourage children, including those with disabilities, to walk and bicycle to school, to make walking and bicycling to school safe and more appealing, and to facilitate planning, development, and implementation of projects to meet the program goals. The benefits include getting an active start to the day and helping students arrive to school alert, refreshed, and ready to learn, encouraging physical activity that can teach lifelong learning habits, and connecting existing bicycle and pedestrian networks, providing more active travel and recreation and opportunities for the community itself, and engaging the community and students to welcoming walking and bicycling to school using the 5 E's, which the 5 E's are education, encouragement, enforcement, engineering, and evaluation. So education includes typically the principal and the teachers from the school. And this can include items such as assemblies, bicycle rodeos, curriculum for students, parents, and guardians. And we do, at the county, also assist with providing surveys and other items. Encouragement is the PTA members and the school staff. So they do events such as the walking school bus, bicycle trains, stickers and recognition, and safety patrol programs. Next, we have enforcement, who is local law enforcement, the school resource officer, or adult school crossing guards. And that includes items such as the crosswalk stings, speed feedback trailers, and signage. Next, we have engineering, who's the Martin County Transportation Engineer. And they're involved with influencing drivers to slow down, encouraging pedestrian and bicycle activities through sidewalks, bike paths, signage, traffic control devices, and pavement markings. And finally, evaluation, which is Martin County staff and school officials, and that's done through parent surveys, site assessments, and case studies. So the project goals for this project, in conjunction with Jensen Beach Elementary School, is to address critical safety concerns near schools, to increase the number of students walking and bicycling to school, encourage students within a 2-mile radius to use walking or bicycling or scooting versus car drop-off. Provides sidewalk connections from the adjacent neighborhoods to the existing sidewalk, which already exists along Savannah Road leading to Jensen Beach Elementary. And to build on the existing relationship that Martin County has with Jensen Beach Elementary and the MPO. Thank you.
Hello, similar to the last one, I'll go over the proposed improvements, what the route looks like. It primarily provides a connection point between Northeast Savannah Road and Northeast Jensen Beach Boulevard. The proposed route would be along the west side of Northeast Rose Tree Drive and Northeast Lake Drive. This one would be a 6-foot uniform width for the entire length. I think there's a typical section maybe. The next one. Here's the existing conditions. So you can see here, it's a 6-foot wide sidewalk on the bottom typical section, and then there'll be a sort of a light longitudinal swale along the roadway. And with that being said, is there any, do you want to do comment first and then questions, or?
Commissioner Reed?
Yes, question for staff. Has the grant been applied for already?
I know this is part of the grant
This is
application
part of it.
process.
Okay. And then for full transparency, I have family and friends that live in the neighborhood. I was aware of a petition that was signed by that neighborhood, and there's 26 residents that don't want this project to move forward. And there was one that was, that supported it. So, and I know the petition was emailed to all the board members that sit up here and county staff as well. But
Mr. Baker, I have a question about funding. So this proposal is for 3,041 linear feet of 6 feet wide sidewalk for 1.3 million. And the Palm Lake Park project was 2,900 linear feet of 6 feet, and at the time, when the proposal was done, 10-foot wide sidewalk for approximately 914,000. Why the discrepancy in the price? I mean, that's, if the Palm Lake Park one was expensive, this one's ridiculous.
I'm just trying to think on what would drive the cost on this one. It's like,
Do you have to buy right away?
no, it can't be part of it. Sorry, how can you tell me the length of the other one real quick again?
2,900,
And what was this one?
3,041. And the other one was, per your estimate, was a combination of 6 and 10-foot wide, and this is only 6 throughout the corridor. So, Mr. Gorton,
I'm just trying to think, Commissioner, on that one in particular. I was trying to think if there's any like I was thinking drainage improvements. We've had some complaints with regards to drainage improvements in this project. And I think it's to make sure that the drainage is accommodated.
from looking at the photos, I can believe it. It looks pretty flat.
Where the other one is, it sort of all drains into the existing retention pond. So as far as like pipes and inlets and such, where this one, it will require more drainage improvements, so that the difference in the cost would be in the proposed drainage.
Thank you. Mr. Gorton, anything to add?
Yeah, Jim Gorton, Martin County Public Works Director, so that is the difference. Keith
I can certainly
nailed it,
understand
is
that.
that it's an open drainage system now. It's got a swale drainage system, and much of that will have to be piped to accommodate the sidewalk. So the side of the street that ends up with a sidewalk will also be flatter than the other side of the street, and it'll be a closed drainage system largely.
Thank you. Any further questions? Mr. Compton, would you like to address us?
I don't think they've quite finished with their presentation. Did you want to talk?
Okay,
Just had one
please
more item.
continue.
Just one more item to add, and that was the local support, because we did have multiple presentations at Jensen Beach Elementary. We met with the assistant principal, as well as the PTA SAC meeting and the Eco Action Team. And this was presented to the joint meeting on February 9th and the policy board meeting today. Just wanted to add that.
And what were the conclusions of those meetings?
All approval. The neighborhood meeting, we did have some feedback, which I think we're going to hear part of it now. But it was approved December 19th at the same meeting for the Board of County Commissioners, and the school is very in favor of the project as well at those meetings.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Compton? You'll have 3 minutes to address us.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, as far as public comments, we do the same thing that the county commission does, where there's 3 minutes of public comments. There will be a warning bell after 2 minutes, and then the second bell is the 3 minutes, just as an FYI.
Hi, my name is Jerry Compton. I live at 2903 Northeast Rose Tree Drive. I've been a resident for 28 years. In those 28 years, I probably counted, every year, contacted the county about the drainage in there. The only time that we've ever had any kind of safety concerns is when the neighbor slid out in her motorcycle, hit her head, and she had to be airlifted to the hospital. That's the only incidents we ever had. And that was because of drainage, because the drainage and the mud just goes on the street and it's bad. And I know they said that we're gonna be doing a lot of drainage, but, page 53 of 149, the drainage system will remain with minor adjustments to the current swale. That's in the presentation. So I don't know where the drainage issues are, but, you know, we are 100% of all the signatures I received, which is about 95% of all the neighbors, are all against it. Some of the people just wouldn't open their doors. Some people I couldn't get a hold of, but we only have like 3 that are non-participating signatures on that corridor. Drainage is a main concern. The existing sidewalk setback is going to put that sidewalk up against the neighbors' houses almost. Some of those houses are really close to the right-of-way. So you're going to have like 20 feet or less from the sidewalk to the front door. I know that's not a lot, but in these half-acre estates, that's a lot. So we're very concerned about that. Okay, I guess my time's up.
Yeah, 1
That's 2
minute.
minutes. That's your 2-minute warning.
I don't have much to add, but we are 100% against the sidewalk. There's better ways to spend the county's money. Savannah Road is not ADA compliant. I can guarantee you that. I run that every day of the week. It's not ADA. There's exceed 5% slopes. It's 3 feet, 2 feet in some areas because grass is growing over. I say spend your money there. That's where the real, and we don't have kids in our neighborhood, just none. We have 1 or 2 people going to school. And I don't think the percentage of people is going to increase. Just the helicopter moms these days, they're going to send their kid to school, be all right. So please spend your money elsewhere. We like sidewalks, but not in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Collins.
So the nature of this program, this desire to do this came out of FDOT. SRTS is sponsored by FDOT. That's the birth of this versus having the desire for this to come out of the neighborhood. Is that correct?
With this one in particular, as far as you're talking about the idea of the project, is that what you're asking? It was a combination of the school input, feedback from the school requesting it, in addition to we get requests for service. People were asking for a sidewalk and/or traffic calming along the street.
Just to kind of clarify, as I can, just kind of dovetail. Last year, the county submitted a Safe Routes to School project. And like I said, this is a federal funding source that comes through FDOT, and this is a discretionary funding source. It's very competitive. The project last year were sidewalks that supported Jensen Beach Elementary School and along South Street. And it was a surprise, I think, to the county, but especially FDOT, that Martin County actually got approval and got awarded the funding for the sidewalks. And this is what my understanding was, because we helped with after the funding was awarded for those sidewalks, we were partnering with the schools to have a walk to school day. And at that walk to school day, I think the staff from Capital Projects attended, and the staff from District 4 actually came from FDOT because they were so excited about the District 4 got funding for this project. And I thought, as a result of that, the conversations as a result of at that walk to school day about, well, we have other areas that need sidewalks. And so that's kind of how it evolved to funding became available this year from this same program, that the county, we're going to move forward with submitting an application based on what was discussed last year between FDOT and the school district about with their success the year before. Is
That's correct.
Okay, I just wanted to.
And one other, in terms of the funding, the Safe Routes to School funds 100% of construction, so the county would just fund design and CEI.
And then to the point about this project providing limited relief for drainage, can you give more context on? Yeah.
The consultant engineer will be tasked with demonstrating that there's no impact to the existing drainage system, and if anything, an improvement to it. So that would be an expectation from the designing
But it's
engineer.
not truly to dramatically improve the drainage, it's basically to get net zero or close.
No, it would be like to that. It would be to improve it as much as feasible within the right of way with the funds, to maximize the funds to improve the drainage. That's the intent.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Reed?
Yeah, I was just going to mention the South Street project as well. And to further add on to it, I believe the grant was mainly for the school safety stuff. I understand Gentry Beach Elementary, they're going to support it no matter what. But like I stated earlier, the residents don't want it. There's petitions, it's minor drainage improvements. The majority of it's going to go to sidewalks. So I don't support this project at all, and neither do the residents that actually live there.
Mr. Gordon?
Just focusing on the design. The design hasn't been done yet, so we don't know what it's going to look like at the end, but drainage will be taken into account as a part of the design. So it's primarily a sidewalk project, but anytime that we touch the right-of-way, we try to leave it better than when we were there. So understanding that there are some things that could be improved upon, we will include that in the scope.
Commissioner Capps?
Yes, Ms. Beltran, you mentioned that this is a discretionary funding source, and I took that to mean that we were kind of lucky to get this money. Is that kind of the idea?
It's discretionary, it's very competitive. This,
Right.
and yes, and like I said, District 4 was very excited that because that looks good for Martin County, but it looks good for the district too. So when we had, the MPO had already, planned to do this partnership with this Walk to School Day last year. It was very well attended, and we had a lot of, we had press there, we had a lot of attention. And that's when the administrators, I guess, of the school said, well, we have other areas that need sidewalks too.
I guess I'm really moved by the fact that the school feels that it's needed.
There are a lot of walkers at that school, and
Right.
kids that ride their bikes, from what I understand.
I would make a motion, we approve it.
I'll second it, but I wanted to comment also. I certainly understand the drainage issues, the public comment on the drainage issues. We struggle with a lot of drainage issues in our area, but we also highly value sidewalks, which we have a lot of problems with and are unable to get. So the fact that this is available for them and future generations to come, I think is an asset, particularly being right by Jensen Beach Elementary. That's where I went to elementary school. That's where I grew up. I think that there's a lot of residences there. It makes sense to have walkways. So I think I don't know if this means anything, but you put an added emphasis on drainage and do what you can, because that's a big deal. So that's my.
Mayor DiPaolo?
So this project is going to address the drainage, it's going to fix that problem, correct?
It's the primary focus of the design is a sidewalk, but we will incorporate drainage improvements as a part of the design, absolutely. So, and by changing it to a largely closed system, it'll make it more efficient. So.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Reed?
Yeah, I don't believe there's any drainage issues. But we'll see how the votes go, I guess, on this one. It's interesting for the residents because, like I said, they don't want it. I mean, the petitions are there. They clearly emailed us. So we'll see how the board votes today.
Any further comments? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Opposed? No.
That motion passes with 3 dissenters, those being Commissioners Collins, Campy and Reed. Am I counting right? 1, 2, yeah, 4. Yep. Thank you. Next is the Florida Department of Transportation Monterey Road at FEC Railroad Crossing Grade Separation Project.
Yes, we have fortunate enough to have Robert Lopez, the project manager, FDOT project manager for this project, along with his consultant, to give you all an update for the Monterey Road at FEC Railroad Crossing Grade Separation Project.
Thank you. Okay, hello?
Morning.
Yes, thank you, everyone. My name is Rob Lopez, and thank you for the opportunity to give you this update today on the State Road 714 FEC Railroad Crossing project. Okay, as you can see on the screen here, a quick review of our schedule. We performed the data collection and had our public kickoff meeting. We have also been performing our analysis and examination of our alternatives, and we will be holding an alternatives public workshop next month. We will take the information we receive from this public outreach and refine the alternatives and return once again in the beginning of 2027 with the recommendation for moving forward for your approval. The design, right-of-way, and construction phases are funded in the current 5-year work program. Right-of-way is currently starting in year 2028 and construction in year 2030. You can see on the screen now our project location map and identifying the project's purpose. The project is located not far from where we are today. You may have noticed that the project study area of influence has been revised and is along State Road 714 Monterey Road from Monterey Road Extension to west of Southeast Flying Fortress Lane, and County Road A1A from Witham Field Drive to just north of Southeast 16th Street. And I'll again reiterate the project purpose is to improve traffic operations, establish more efficient road system connectivity, provide enhanced emergency evacuation, and improve sidewalk and bike lane network. And again, the blue is the area of influence, but the project purpose is primarily focused on the crossing of Monterey Road and the FEC, which is shown by that yellow dot in the center of the screen there. This slide, I'm going to show you the traffic ADT. ADT is the annual average daily traffic, which takes in all vehicle trips on a segment of roadway or highway during a year-long interval in both directions, and then divides the total by 365 days to arrive at the average number of daily trips. The AADT for the existing condition is based upon traffic data that has been obtained in year 2022, and for the area in question ranges from the 8,200 to 27,000 vehicles per day in the vicinity of the study intersection. Level of service is the quantitative stratification of a performance measure that represents the quality of service of a transportation facility measured on an A to F scale, with level of service A representing the best operating condition from the traveler's perspective, and level of service F representing the worst. This grading system is used to evaluate how well a roadway or transportation facility is operating, particularly during peak travel hours. It reflects factors such as speed, travel time, freedom to maneuver, traffic interruptions, and comfort and convenience. The legend on the left side of the slide provides example of the various level of service A, which is a highway with stable free flow conditions with little or no congestion. Level of service B, which represents stable free flow conditions with little congestion. Level of service C, free flow conditions with moderate congestion. Level of service D approaching unstable conditions with increasing congestion, and level of service E unstable congestion with congested conditions, and level of service F stop and go conditions. The slide also provides an existing level of service for several intersections within the study area during both the AM peak and PM peak, with level of services ranging from B to D, with majority being D. And I'll just mention also that for an urban developed area such as this, level of service D is considered the target that you're trying to shoot for. And as you can see, fast forward to forecast for year 2050 of no build condition. You can see for the no build condition, the AADT now ranges from 10,200 to 33,500 vehicles per day in the vicinity of the study intersection. And you can see that one link right between US 1 and Dixie, where the 33,500 is. This slide also depicts the level of service of those same intersections during both the AM peak and the PM peak, but in 2050. The only adjustment is to signal timing, with no changes in laneage or capacity. The level of service ranges from B to F, with 4 of the peaks being an F. I'll now turn it over to Tanya Kristoff, that will tell you more about some of the conditions that we've had to work with for selecting an alternative, and about the alternatives that have been developed.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
So one of the distinct aspects of the project is its close proximity of 714 to the end of runway 12-30, which is the primary runway for Witham Airfield. As with all runways, the surrounding slopes and surfaces are critical to maintaining the safety and integrity of aircraft operations. These areas must be carefully considered to ensure compliance with aviation safety standards and to protect not only air traffic, but also the adjacent land uses. One such critical surface is the Runway Protection Zone, or RPZ, which is depicted in this current slide. The yellow shape represents the arrival RPZ, and the purple is the departure RPZ. During our meeting with FAA, it was conveyed that any new roadway or intersection needs to be outside of the arrival RPZ. The existing State Road 714 alignment is grandfathered into the RPZ, so staying within its current footprint is vital. Another element is obviously the railroad and its compensation requirements. If the railroad crossing is built as an overpass at the current State Road 714 location, no other railroad crossings would need to be closed. If a new crossing, either elevated or at grade, is built at a different location, one or more existing railroad crossings would have to be closed as compensation. And if a crossing needed to be closed, we will be looking towards the county for guidance on potential locations for that closure. In addition to engineering considerations, potential environmental effects associated with each concept has to be evaluated throughout the project. They include elements from the natural environment, such as wetlands and other surface waters, from cultural resources, such as historic sites, from physical environment, such as traffic noise, utilities, and the railroad, and from social and economic environments, such as mobility and relocation potentials. This slide graphically depicts some of those environmental resources that we must consider throughout the study. The study began with a high-level analysis, often referred to as a Tier 1 or desktop analysis, of multiple concepts. It included 10 concepts. The 8 that occurred at the current 714 at FEC Railroad Crossing are shown here. They ranged from elevated intersections to depressed intersections to various overpasses. The 9th and 10th concepts in the initial desktop analysis are on this slide and are located south of the existing State Road 714 at FEC Railroad Crossing along Monterey Extension, both included a new overpass. Concepts were brought to the MPO, Martin County Board of County Commissioners, City of Stuart, Martin County Public Works, FAA, and FEC for discussion. Concept 8 was eliminated, and Concept 3 and 10 were revised. Additionally, the no-bid alternative will be carried throughout the PD&E process, along with Concept 3, Concept 3 modified, and Concept 10. Concepts will now be referred to as alternatives. So Alternative 1 will be Concept 3, Alternative 2 is Concept 3 modified, and Alternative 3 was Concept 10. So this is a larger view of Alternative 1. It elevates State Road 714 over the FEC Railroad and County Road A1A, utilizing the existing alignment of 714. This alternative would provide limited connectivity between 714 and County Road A1A, and it would be done through the use of that access road. This one here. The access road would connect to 714 east of the existing 714 County Road A1A intersection on the north side of 714. The access road, which would be in the area of 15th Court and would connect to Southeast Palm Beach Road through a standard intersection at 16th Street. Pedestrian and bicycle accommodations are included in this concept. This slide illustrates potential parcel encroachments for Alternative 1. So as you can see based off of the legend, the depth of that yellow indicates the type of impact. So the lightest yellow is a parcel impact, meaning we're having some encroachment. If it has a hatch, that means there's either a structure that's impacted or needs to be removed. And then the one that's a very solid yellow is where we're looking at relocations. So this is a larger view of Alternative 2, which is very similar to Alt 1, with the optional connection to Southeast Palm Beach Road. Again, it still elevates 714 over FEC and County Road A1A, utilizing the existing alignment of 714. The alternative would provide limited connectivity between 714 and County Road A1A, and would again be done through the use of the access road. The access road would connect east of existing 714 County Road A1A intersection on the north side. The access road, which would be north of the houses along 15th Court, and would connect to Southeast Palm Beach Road through a standard intersection. The pedestrian and bicycle accommodations are included in this concept. Once again, this slide illustrates the potential parcel encroachments for Alt 2. Again, the lightest shade is a parcel impact. The hatching is a structure needing to be removed or relocated, and then a solid is a relocation. Now we will look at a larger view of Alternative 3, which is located south of the current intersection, with improvements to Southeast Monterey Road and Southeast Grumman Boulevard, elevating over the tracks. Additionally, County Road A1A would be reconstructed and elevated to create a new raised intersection. It is anticipated that Southeast Monterey Road extension would need to be widened. Southeast Grumman Boulevard would be improved, extended, and elevated over the railroad, intersecting with an elevated County Road A1A, and ultimately tying into the airport entrance. Once again, pedestrian and bicycle accommodations are included in this concept. Again, this slide illustrates potential parcel encroachments. The intensity reflects that encroachment. So light shade is a slight impact. The hatching means a structure is being impacted, and then the solid shade is where we would anticipate a relocation.
Forgive me for clarification, the Monterey extension would be going over A1A or under?
We would be going over the railroad tracks. A1A would then be also elevated to meet that elevation. And then we would begin to descend, so we would tie back in before the existing intersection with County Road A1A 714. So from here, this starts to go up and over. We go over the railroad tracks. In the meantime, this County Road A1A begins to elevate. It would meet that elevated, creating an elevated intersection. We would then tie back down first into the airport entrance, and then we have to get over this spur, so we remain elevated until we get across the spur. Once we are over that spur, then we start descending and coming back to existing grade. So you're back down before we get to this intersection.
Okay, thank you.
Make sense? We good? Anyone else? Okay. Transportation system management and operations is something that we also focus on, and is focused on enhancing safety, reliability, and mobility by actively managing the existing transportation network. It uses technology, data, and a collaborative strategy to improve traffic flow, reduce congestion, and maximize infrastructure capacity without large-scale construction projects. So here are two examples. What we've heard from the MPO in the past, particularly at the driveway for the shopping center, was this is supposed to be a right in, right out. The island there is very small, so people are still acting as if it's a full opening. We would ensure that that was an actual right in, right out to control that traffic and reduce potential conflict points. And then we also looking at 714 at County Road A1A, having some additional turn lanes as much as we can. Obviously, we're restricted with the railroad. We would not be able to widen in that area. Okay, so going back once again, just a reminder that the AADT is the annual average daily traffic, which takes all the vehicle trips on a segment of roadway or highway during a year-long interval in both directions, and then divides that total by 365 to arrive at the average number for daily trips. So again, this is the traffic projected to 2050 with the no-bill conditions. And again, we range from 10,200 to the 33,500 in the area of the subject intersection. And as you can see, we have several intersections that are failing. So when we look at the AADT for Alt 1 and Alt 2, because the traffic is obviously very same since they're very similar concepts, that range becomes from that 5,700, which we're pulling from there, to the 34,500, which you notice here. Again, we have level of services that range from A to F, with D being the most occurring level of service. And then looking at the traffic projected for 2050, for alternative 3, again, at now the intersection that would be improved and going over, you have the values that range from 2,400 to 21,500. You do have the 47 here. Then when you go back to this intersection, you'll notice the decrease in those AADTs. This is now at 23,500. This is at 1,550. And the reason being is that this alternative, basically, you start splitting that traffic because you have two different routes, and that helps draw down the amount of trips that are on that particular segment. And then the ranges from B to E. So we've done an evaluation matrix, and what we did was we divided it into two segments. So the first is based off of impacts. So the lower the number or impact, the better. And of course, the higher, the worst. Versus the second chart that you see, in which we're looking at level of improvement. So in that case, low is not good, and the higher is better. So that's why we split them into two separate, just to make that a little bit easier to examine. And as you can see, we've looked at the number of parcels being impacted. Obviously, Alt 1 and 2 have a higher impact versus Alt 3 from parcels are concerned. And that's probably one of the areas that you'll notice the most. Okay, just want to make sure you don't have any questions. All right.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes, question. And this is for the traffic count. So I'm looking at the level of service for 2022 existing conditions. And I know FDOT has like a traffic count as well, but the numbers don't necessarily match. So is this like one that was specifically for this project? And then how does the data correlate to online with the FDOT traffic?
Yeah, we have, traffic counts were taken, and then based off, run into a model specifically for this project. So that's why you may see some differences. Like even when you look at Willoughby, if Willoughby traffic comes and they start looking at, well, now they've added a roadway, again, that's going to adjust how traffic gets split. So you might see differences even if you look at their traffic versus our traffic. Because again, when were their counts taken and how are they, when they're adding in an additional connection, then that could change some things.
Okay. And then obviously the goal of this project is to relieve traffic from the Monterey US 1 intersection to push it down the Grumman. That's the goal.
The goal is to improve, I guess if you go back to the slide of purpose and need, it's to improve those 4 conditions at that crossing of Monterey. The Monterey FEC Dixie crossing is looking at those 4 conditions and seeing if we can improve those 4 conditions at that point.
And then with the options, they would be either elevated at Monterey Road or elevated at Monterey and Grumman, or just elevated at Grumman,
It would
or
just be alt 3 is just elevating at Grumman.
okay.
And existing 714 at County Road A1A, that would remain at grade. We would do some turn lane improvements as much as we could to help the traffic get through there, but it would remain at grade.
Do you guys have any like samples of what it would look like elevated or
We don't have it here, but I can send you, there's actually some that are actually even along this roadway that we can show you that.
Or like even in the state of Florida in general, I guess, to kind of see what it looks like. 'Cause I remember when we were talking about this project in the past, they wanted to do like an underground tunnel, and everyone
Right.
seemed against that because it would forever
Right.
change what Martin County looks like.
Right, that was concept 8 when I referred to, on this slide where I mentioned that concept 8 was eliminated, concept 8 was a depressed.
Now, would there be any way to do alternative 3 without elevating it? Or,
No, because we need to get that traffic. We're trying to remove some of that traffic from that intersection. So one way was doing that was elevating it.
so if it was elevated, would trains still go under it then?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so that's very elevated then.
We have to be 23.5 feet above the track. So the bottom of our lowest member has to meet that. So the tricky thing about alt 1 and 2 is going back to,
I think he was asking though.
Oh,
if
here.
Grumman can be connected to Dixie without going over.
is that what you're
Correct.
asking?
Like if
Oh,
it was
I see what you're saying.
like another alternative to not elevate it.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It's possible, but it would require more closures that we would have to offer FEC. We would probably have to offer FEC more than 4 closures if we were going to.
And where do we get this information on FEC? How, like, if we want to add one, you have to, because you have to close one? Where we find the literature on that to read up on it?
I don't think it's really a literature published.
They just tell you how it is and,
I mean, they're under pressure
Yeah.
to show they're improving the safety of
Uh-huh.
the railroad as well. So they don't have, obviously, they're not a government agency.
Correct.
So they
But-
don't have it as the same level of transparency.
so like if we wanted a dialogue, I guess, with FEC to be here during these presentations to ask them what their stance is and stuff. Because I always hear about it. I hear about all the communication from FEC, but it's behind closed doors. I don't know if FEC representatives ever come to MPO board meetings at all.
We have not had a representative that I can remember from FEC. They are a member of our Freight Transportation Advisory Committee, and we have had representation there.
And their stance on anything is like basically what I said. It's like an unwritten rule.
I mean, they've had some consistency. Basically, they feel that over the years, Many roadway crossings have been approved, and it's constantly, and now that it's carrying passengers on that track.
So
more they
when
feel
did,
the safety
when did their
is on
stance
the-
change, I guess? Because if we've opened up crossings in the past, they were okay with it then?
I think we've seen big change,
Yeah.
you know, with Brightline, the fact that track is now carrying passengers. So there's more emphasis on safety, not just of freight now, but safety of the passengers on that track. So they're looking to really improve that safety, and the big way they're looking to do it is try to reduce the number of crossings there are, and or at least not increase the number
Yeah.
of crossings.
All right, well, it'd be nice if a representative from FEC was here so we could ask them. So that's all I have to say.
Commissioner Collins?
Yes, I've heard, with regard to the different alternatives, I've heard some negative feedback towards 1 and 2, and personally, I would agree with that. And it seems like, in what you all have presented, that you're coming to a similar conclusion, both in terms of the negative impact on parcels. 1 and 2 seems to be higher, while simultaneously producing less positive impact for traffic flow. But any kind of alternative that's, leveraging Palm Beach Road there, cutting into residential neighborhoods where children play to offset, the kind of traffic that's on Monterey, I think it's a nightmare. My concerns would be, assuming we're going in the direction of alternative 3, which seems to be what you guys are advocating for here. Because of to Commissioner Reed's point, and trying to clarify, because of the height that you would have to achieve to clear train, freight cars, does it make more sense to have less impact? And also, to his point, if it does seem like this is the direction we want to go, it may be nice to have visual representation of what that might look like with a couple alternatives, wherever we end up here in making decisions. But if you're having to clear those train cars going up, maybe it does make more sense to go down, which may not make any sense with alternative 3, so forgive me. I'm a mere chiropractor. But if you're just clearing, cars and trucks and box cars, maybe that, I don't know, maybe it's less to have that. One of the visuals that we did get at the last one that I remember was less of a tunnel and more of a, it seemed more of like a depressed, I don't know what the name of that was.
Yes.
Open trench.
Right, open trench.
Right.
Right. So the one thing to think about doing a depressed, I have to maintain the rail traffic.
Right.
I can't stop that.
Right, you can't bring that up.
Right. So to construct underneath it, we would have to reestablish what's called a shoe fly track. It's a temporary track. In order to do that and not have tremendous impact on people's parcels, a logical place to put that would be on County Road A1A during construction. So that means County Road A1A no longer would have vehicular traffic.
What kind of time
on
frame
it.
are we talking about?
Are you referring to time frame when the project would go to construction, or
How long would that be?
duration?
Saying how long would we be in construction?
Well, I would say almost this too. Right now, with the cost would be significantly more, and right now with the funding sources that we have in place, those would no longer work with an open trench. We would it would basically go back to being unfunded at that point, because it would probably more than double the
I think if we
cost.
were actually looking at what that bridge would look like, that there may be more opposition to it. Certainly if the public saw something like that versus an open trench, I think might be more tenable. But to your point, if you can't get it funded, it doesn't matter. Okay, those are my thoughts and questions.
Commissioner Campy?
First off, thank you for the presentation and the obviously hard, complicated work to get to this point. All three of the options are obviously difficult to swallow. For me, it's very simple. It would have to be the third. The first two, when you were showing them in your presentation, you would decimate the YMCA. You barrel through those neighborhoods and those houses, and even well before I was sitting up here, when they eliminated some of those houses within the safety zone of the airport, that was just one block. It was several houses. It was a huge deal. I think that would absolutely dramatically change the whole lifestyle of that neighborhood. The third option didn't look like you were impacting any residential homes. All of it's challenging. We were just looking at the other agenda item that said just some school sidewalks were $1 million, so I could just imagine that this is hundreds of millions of dollars. Because even for the lay person who doesn't understand like the dollars and cents based on projects, even we know that when you talk about elevating roadways, how far back you have to go so it doesn't look like you're going up a steep incline, and then over the railroad tracks, and then having A1A meet at an elevated intersection east of the railroad tracks. It's got the engineering and the expense will put this into so far into the future and be so expensive. We'll probably be using drone hovercrafts by that point, which don't seem that far off, which would eliminate the need for any of this. So if you're asking, I'm in favor of alternative number 3 as the lesser of 3 evils.
Yes, well put.
Commissioner Mayfield.
Yes, I agree with that last statement. Certainly at this point, I would support alternative 3. I'm back to the ground level. Ideally, when this first came to light, the concept that in this area we would have an overpass or underpass just always has seemed kind of bananas to me in a smaller county. I do understand where you're working. You got the airport constraints, so I think you guys have done a very good job coming up with alternatives. And my question about that, keeping it at ground level, I thought you just said something like 4 crossings. Is it an eye for an eye? Like if you open a new crossing, you have to close another one somewhere in the county? Or like how does that?
If you make a crossing, ultimately, FEC wants to show they're improving safety, so they want to show a reduction in crossings. So basically, if you're adding 1, you have to close 2, is the general guidance. There is a little bit of negotiation to that, but that's the
Is
general
it in the
guidance.
county or is it a perimeter, a vicinity? What is
It
that
can be,
criteria?
it can be, it's usually within the area, but it can be anywhere along the FEC track. They want somewhere that's somewhat equivalent to show that they're reducing safety, so a somewhat similar trafficked area.
Similarly trafficked area.
But
Okay.
it's not defined exactly. It's a little bit of negotiation, but that's in general what they're looking for.
I mean, that's the ideal for me, but I understand that's difficult to do, and you guys do well working within your constraints. And this is not necessarily related to the big time work, but that little stretch between, probably not in your jurisdiction, but between US 1 and Dixie Highway, the businesses there they make more cars go in that little area that don't have to. I realize that there's no other direct access to those plazas, but you were referencing the right turn or whatever. But like if there was no business access on that little strip, again, that's terrible for the businesses. I'm not saying we should do that, but there's room there it's not designed well from the get-go to have all these cars going left and right and trying to cross traffic. So I don't know, that's not in your purview per se, and then also you talked about the Willoughby extension. I realize it's not all directly reflected, but it is another way for traffic to go besides that clustered area. So I think those things need to be taken into consideration. That's it. I support 3.
We've looked at, we realized that the access to that plaza would be affected, and we have begun at least looking at options that can be at least be looked at to try to improve the access if we go to that level.
And the other side too. It's an odd setup. It's a very odd setup in that whole area.
Commissioner Katz.
Yes, I'm sensing a consensus toward alternative 3 and a lot of technical data here. I could use a little refresher. Can you go back to like page 16, which seems to be the most elementary beginning point of what alternative 3 is all about? And just kind of hit me with the 5 most important things that alternative 3 features. I think a lot of us could use a recap, just real quick. You don't have to belabor it and do the whole thing. Just give us like the 5 most important things about this.
I guess the first most important that you maybe don't see on this slide, but you'll notice on others is
You can take us to another slide if that's better, you know.
Yeah, but I'll just point out again, if you remember that segment of Monterey right between US 1 and Dixie, with the no build condition, that would carry about 33,000 vehicles with an ADT. And with the build condition, once you extend that Monterey extension to connect to US 1, the number of the ADT along that one segment drops to 23,000. That's about the equivalent of 1 lane of traffic in each direction. So you're getting almost the same benefit as almost widening that segment by 1 lane. The second thing is also in combination with that. In combination with that, as it was mentioned very much earlier, one of the big objectives of this whole project is not just the traffic itself, but improving the network, especially when it comes to emergency response. And that's one thing that we see a big improvement with doing this, because when you look back at a larger map, you'll see that what Monterey and Indiantown are the 2 places that have bridges that cross over the waterway. And during an not just a hurricane, but any type of emergency response, if there is a blockage by a train or an incident on that segment between US 1 and Dixie, it can cause a very long delay for emergency response. This alternative gives alternate routes for emergency response to access the community that lives on that northeast quadrant. The second, obviously biggest thing that everyone noticed is going to be that, that overpass over FEC rail from Grumman to US 1. But in addition to that, that also creates that overpass of that spur to the airport. So that is more of the benefit to FEC, because a lot of the funding for this project is showing multimodal improvement, not just vehicle improvement. So that is, to a certain degree, showing the benefit to the railroad operations and to the airport of the movement of goods, the ability to move goods to the airport by rail. Mm-hmm. And I guess the third improvement, is kind of the improvements that we will be making to the intersection of that Monterey and Dixie. What you'll see on this alternative 3, they're exactly the same improvements that we were suggesting for the TSM&O no build condition. So there will be intersection improvements that take place at the Monterey and Dixie intersection as well. And those are the 3, and obviously the capacity improvements that will take place all along the Monterey extension from Monterey to US 1, which, also improves kind of the overall network, and in general will improve the traffic for businesses along that segment as well. But I think those are some of the big highlights. The challenging parts of it, like was mentioned, were where access to the plaza would have to be a little bit more addressed than what we see on the slide here. So that's something that we would still has to be worked out. The other biggest challenge is probably, as we said, one business that is somewhat affected is the airport shopping plaza that you see on the southeast quadrant there. Their access will be rerouted, as you can see, in that link over there. Tanya, any?
Commissioner Reed.
Yes, my comments were, I support alternative 3. I'd rather see Grumman, though, at a base elevation. And I'd also like to see FEC here, because I feel Martin County residents are being strong-armed by FEC.
Mr. Collins.
So if we stay on this slide, you had discussed having that depression would force A1A to carry the tracks and shut down A1A. If we're raising A1A, that would be the case anyway, is that A1A would be shut down.
Do staged.
Staggering it?
We can do staged construction.
Okay. And then that also requires a bridge to be at that, what do you call that? That,
Spur.
Yes.
spur.
But that's where our statement to FEC is, because they would want 2 closures for this. So we're saying we want them to count that as 1 closure. So I only need 1 other closure.
But it's still a bridge?
Yes, it's a bridge.
So-
So we're bridging it so it's not an at grade.
I gotcha.
So we're improving that crossing is what we're,
So here's my thought. If you had a depression at the extension there, would that allow A1A and Grumman to all be at grade? Is there any other reason other than trying to match the bridge elevation to raise up A1A and Grumman? No, right?
well, then I would need to get, once we went under, I need to get people back onto A1A.
Right?
So I would need to have so if A1A was at grade.
Yep.
And this went under, I now need a way to get people reconnected. So your footprint's gonna get bigger. Because we actually had looked at having, let me go back. So if we go back to this one,
Because to your point
if
of
you
it
notice
being. Yes.
this one where we left A1A at grade.
Yep.
And we were coming up and over. So now I had to get everyone back to A1A, and that's where you start seeing, well, now I have this ramp running, still having to cross that spur, and I got to get someone back down and in. Same thing with this. If somebody wanted to utilize this extension, they had to jump off of A1A, come onto this ramp, come over. Now I'm bridging over this, the entrance to the airport, coming here and then going over. And this was actually taking everybody, this is getting somebody on, this is getting somebody off. So instead of being up, all that would have to be depressed, and then I'm bringing everyone that was depressed back up to ground. So when I say footprint, it means my area of improvement or new roadway is starting to grow.
What I would like to see is maybe a 3B, where we could look at a depression there. Because we're not approving anything today, we're just talking, right? We're just throwing ideas around. This is just discussion. We're not approving anything today, we're just discussing, right?
This is a
just-
discussion
yeah.
item, and from what I understand, you all will be presenting to the city commission on March 9th, is that correct?
That's correct.
Right.
We can at least start documenting the cost, so we can do a little bit better comparison.
Because if we're not raising A1A up, and we're really just having 1 grade crossing potentially, I think it might be worth looking at personally.
We can give a little bit preliminary comparison. I know another challenge is obviously that the tie down at the Monterey extension in US 1. So, like we said before, going over requires space, going under requires even more run out length. So, but we can try to get that comparison so you can see what's involved. With
If possible, I'd
both,
appreciate
yeah.
it.
Any further discussion? Thank you. We are going to have to take a 5-minute break for the closed captioner. We will return at 11:20 to conclude our meeting. We are back, taking up the MPO Policy Board meeting, taking up agenda item number 8H, which is the Transit Development Plan Annual Report.
Yes, the state has a new rule that they put in place last year that the county transit agency or the local transit agency would give the MPO an update on their annual report of the transit development plan. So we have Ash Beecher here, the Martin County Transit Administrator, to give that report.
Good morning, board members. Ash Beecher. I am the Transit Administrator for the MARTI bus system. I'm here this morning to present the annual progress report for the MARTI 2025 to 2034 Transit Development Plan. And what we'll be looking at today is the purpose of the annual progress report and how it ties into the major update that was completed and approved in 2024. We'll be doing an overview of the new TDP requirements as it pertains to Rule 1473, Florida Administrative Code. I'll be providing a brief transit system overview, and we'll be taking a look at progress and achievements of the transit system since the major TDP was approved. So what is the TDP? Well, it's a roadmap. It's a multi-year roadmap that outlines how a transit system is going to improve and fund existing services to meet future needs. Transit agencies are required to complete a TDP to not just demonstrate accountability, but also to secure state funding. So MARTI's TDP is tied to state transportation block grant funding for operating assistance from the state. That's around $350,000 annually. So we do these updates to secure block grant funding and to make sure that our goals are aligned with local and state policies. Our major TDP update adopted and approved in 2024 gives us a 10-year game plan for where the system is headed. And then the annual progress report, or APR, checks in each year to show what's been done, what's changed, and what's next. There is a new TDP rule, as Beth mentioned. That rule requires transit agencies to present the annual progress report to the MPO board each year, which allows our local leaders to review the progress we've made and to provide input. There are some new and core elements to the APR required by the new rule, and the table that you're looking at on the PowerPoint, the current slide shows a list of the major requirements and the corresponding pages in the APR. So the MARTI APR includes information about the Metropolitan Transportation Planning Process Coordination Program. What that means is that the APR outlines how the Martin MPO works with MARTI staff, because the Martin MPO works very closely with MARTI staff to ensure that transit priorities, both operating and capital, are outlined in several reports and plans. So that would include the TIP and the long-range transportation plan. The MARTI program of projects includes transit capital, operational, and identified service improvement needs. It reflects consistency with both the LRTP and the Transit Development Plan and prioritizes projects using transit-specific criteria such as state of good repair, service reliability, and ridership benefits. For example, the MARTI program of projects, or POP, includes surveillance cameras. There are surveillance cameras on the MARTI buses, as well as at some of our bus stop shelters. There are also solar security lighting at our shelters, and we also have solar security lighting at some of our standalone bus stops for people who use the system after the sun goes down. Our POP also include FTA rolling stock procurement and operating assistance to maintain existing levels of service. In addition to coordinating on planning documents, MARTI also has representation on several MPO committees and board, including the Technical Advisory Committee, the Local Coordinating Board for the Transportation Disadvantaged, and the Treasure Coast Technical Advisory Committee. So, to provide a brief overview of the MARTI bus system, we operate 5 fixed routes from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. We also operate an eligibility-based program. It's a door-to-door paratransit service for persons with disabilities whose disabilities prevent them from utilizing the normal or the regular fixed route bus. There is regional connectivity with Port St. Lucie's public transportation system, as well as Palm Tran to the south. We operate a total of 19 revenue vehicles, which includes 14 heavy-duty Gilligs and 5 smaller cutaways. In addition to public transportation, MARTY staff also operate the On Demand Veterans Transportation Program, where the county contracts with Uber to provide rides for Martin County veterans that live in Martin County. That program has been very successful since its inception in July 2025. So here we're looking at ridership trends over the last 5 years. MARTY has seen a 67% increase in public use of the transit system over the last 5 years, with a jump in ridership from 73,000 in 2021 to over 120,000 rides in 2025. And in early November 2025, we removed the fare requirement to get on the bus, and as a direct result of removing the fares, we saw roughly a 30% increase in ridership. So December 2025 and January 2026, we saw roughly 30% increase in ridership compared to the same month in the prior year. And we were prompted earlier this year in July, we were prompted to add 2 new bus stops to Route 3, which primarily serves the city of Stuart. And those 2 stops are located on Georgia Avenue at Stuart Middle School and Guy Davis Field. The purpose of those stops being added was to get Stuart Middle School athletes from the middle school to Guy Davis Field so that they can get to their soccer practice. And what we're seeing each day, Monday through Friday, around the same time, around 20 student athletes and their chaperones will get on the MARTY bus at around the same time, and they'll get to their soccer game practices at Guy Davis. It's been really good to see. We're also adding a new stop at the Reach Center, which I think the ribbon cutting was last week. And those are just some of the ways that the MARTY is working with the community. So MARTY's financial plan for the TDP has a 10-year planning horizon, which is updated annually to reflect any changes in priorities. The annual cost to run the MARTY bus system is roughly $3.5 million, and about 2/3 of that comes from state and federal funding. And to conclude the presentation, another requirement of the TDP annual progress report is to highlight some transit accomplishments from the prior year. So this update includes accomplishments since the major TDP was approved and adopted in May 2024. And as you can see, in 2024, the Commission for the Transportation Disadvantaged awarded the Martin County TD Board with the 2024 Outstanding Coordinating Board of the Year Award. In 2025, we implemented several safety and security enhancements to the system, including the installation of surveillance cameras at MARTY bus shelters. We coordinated with the Veterans Council to provide public outreach at the Stuart Air Show to promote awareness of fixed route, on-demand, and specialized transportation services available in Martin County, including the Martin County On-Demand Veterans Transportation Program with Uber. Later in 2025, we went out to bid for a general planning consultant to assist in transit planning initiatives, including a route optimization study, which will begin very soon. These studies and plans will be fully funded with FTA dollars. Lastly, in November 2025, as previously mentioned, fares were removed from the MARTY, and we've seen that 30% increase in ridership, and we hope to continue seeing that trend as new users become more familiar with the system. That concludes my presentation. Are there any questions at this time?
Commissioner Capps.
I have a couple of observations about MARTY. You know, some people are critical of MARTY, And a few people have even advocated for it to go away and from our community on the theory that there aren't enough people riding the buses. But one thing that always pops out to me that I think always needs to be emphasized is how the Marty bus system is funded. It's about a $4 million program, isn't that right, Mr. Gorton? And $2 million of it roughly comes from the federal government, about $1 million from the state government, and about $1 million from the local government. So the whole thing doesn't cost Martin County but about $1 million. So that's always good to keep in mind. Another thing that jumps out to me is wheelchair lifts and bike racks. Some folks have been critical of the larger buses, but it gets kind of complicated because a lot of the people who ride the buses are heading to the hospital in wheelchairs and transportation disadvantaged folks, and they can push a button and the bus lowers so they can just go right in. Whereas some of these other smaller vehicles, if you had somebody with a wheelchair, the driver would have, as I understand it, would have to get out of his driver's seat, walk around the back of the smaller vehicle, pull down some type of mechanism in the back, and help to push the guy up in the wheelchair. And that would be such a slow process that it would mess up the route schedule. So it gets complicated when thinking about some of these things, and as you deepen your understanding of how the system works, you feel like there's more rationale behind it. Another thing that has struck me a few times as I've begun to be more cognizant of the Marty buses, occasionally I have seen people putting their bicycles on the front of a bus, and my heart has gone out to them thinking, anyone who has to ride a bicycle to a bus stop and then put their bike on a bus must really need a ride bad. And so I have seen a few of those incidents in recent days, and it has made more sense to me. The last comment I would make is, with the ridership jumping 33% because of no fares, this is early in the process. That 33% might go to 40 or 50 rather soon, because that vote was only taken a few months ago, right? I mean, we're barely getting started with this change. And as word spreads, that ridership will probably increase a good bit more.
Commissioner Campy?
Thank you very much. Mine is more of a reminder that our county is very similar to St. Lucie County. We consider ourselves sister counties. Obviously, same logistics on the coast. Our population numbers are similar. Our demographic. What did I say?
St. Lucie.
I apologize. I meant Indian River. I have no idea why I said St. Lucie. Indian River, our populations are similar and our demographics are similar, as well as the fact, excuse me, that recently we switched over to use the same service that Indian River has used for a long time. And they have over 1 million riders per year. Now, they've been at it longer. So I think with not just you, sir, and your staff, and all of the things that you mentioned in your report, but we have basically tried to emulate what they have accomplished up there. Now, they have been at it longer, so I think that it sort of gives us the answers to the test up front. So the longer, if we can, I hear the same things that Commissioner Capps is hearing. Why do we have this? I see the buses on the road, no one's in them. It's ridiculous, we shouldn't do it. It'd be cheaper to just give everybody an Uber. But I think we are heading in the right direction with the personnel, with our consulting and management team, with the equipment, with the additional expansion of routes. I will continue to poke that we need to have some stops in Palm City. But as owning a personal vehicle becomes more and more expensive, as the goal is to try to have fewer cars on the road than more. And I know that that's a really far out into the future kind of a mindset for most people. But eventually, we'll have to. And I think what we as a board, both here and in our elected positions on our individual boards, we have to remember we're not just making decisions for today. We're trying to create a system for 5, 10, 15 years into the future. And I think that's what they did in Indian River County a long time ago. And they have 1 million riders. And we're in the hundreds of thousands. So that I'm appreciative of all of your efforts. The thing that I've also heard about, that we eliminated the fare and it's like a welfare state or something like that. My decision to vote the way I did is purely from a business point of view, and just to refresh people's memories or to give them this information they might not have realized, is that whatever we took, you're getting, and I'm just going to use round numbers, if we got $1 million grant, and by doing the fares, you collected $200,000. The grant was lowered by $200,000 to make it an $800,000 grant. So it's not like we gave up income. The other problem that people didn't realize, that for, what was the fare, $1.50?
Correct.
$1.50, that means you have to have the change, because it wasn't like Apple Pay and things like that, I don't believe. Now, the driver has to, it's all about seconds and minutes for you, correct? Keeping the on-time record. The driver has to stop. If you're standing there and you're going through your wallet, or a woman's going through her purse, and then they have to make the change, and now the next person behind you is doing the same thing. Now we've really started to delay. Then at the end of the day, that bus driver is responsible for collecting that cash, bringing it back to the office, securing it in a safe, because they're responsible. You can't have skimming, so they're responsible for maintaining the accuracy and the security of those dollars. And then the next morning, someone from this, I'm pretty sure it was the Stuart Police Department or Martin County Deputy, has to come and collect all that money to make a deposit. So the manpower, the personnel responsible for doing that, ate up whatever there would have been in classified profit. So when people get panicky that we're trying to make this a welfare state and giving out free bus rides, it just made perfect business sense. And oh, by the way, you're already increased by 33%.
Correct.
They did it as a test in St. Lucie, or in Port St. Lucie. What was that increase?
60% after 4 years.
Yeah, so they went up 60% in ridership by eliminating the $1.50 thing and all of the little nuances that go with it. So job well done.
Commissioner Collins.
So I'm in more of that camp of, maybe this is too expensive for its usage. So it was nice to see this presentation. We had discussed previously about this microtransit, and I was curious, from what I remember, we were looking at potentially having to invest in new buses soon. And if we didn't go in that direction of microtransit, what is the plan with regard to microtransit? Are we basically continuing on business as usual with Marty? Are we looking at converting, and if so, on what time frame?
So what we've seen is that the most successful transit systems are a mixture of different modes. So a mixture of larger, heavy-duty buses, smaller cutaways, and micromobility or microtransit where it fits. It's not just business as usual with Marty. We are looking at making the recommended changes from the TDP and board comments, public comments, which we've identified some funding to do a microtransit test pilot. We're working on the technology portion of it with our technology provider to sort of hash out the details on what that would look like, number of vehicles, the specific service areas, and as far as replacing the Gilligs are concerned, we are looking at replacing the larger Gilligs with smaller cutaways where those make sense. We still believe, based on TDP recommendations from the consultant that there are still places such as US 1 where the heavy-duty buses are still more suitable. However, for smaller community areas like Golden Gate, it may not make a lot of sense for a large Gillig to be going in and out of Golden Gate. So in areas like those, the smaller cutaways may make sense. And then we're reminded with the stops that we added at the Stuart Middle, if 20 student athletes are trying to get on the smaller cutaways that only seat 10 people, in a situation like that, it may not make sense to have a cutaway. So hopefully that answers your question.
And so those recommendations come through TDP to the county to make those decisions on, I guess what I'm saying is ridership and increasing the ridership numbers is important, but as part of that, the metric of decreasing cost per ride, I would think needs to be important. I know it's a government, but and part of that is ridership. The more people that are riding it, it does bring down that cost per ride. But is that one of those metrics in diversifying the approach to make it more streamlined for people, even though the feds are paying $2 million and the state's paying $1 million and we're paying $1 million for everybody involved that's paying taxes, is looking at bringing down that cost per ride, a part of that analysis for TDP?
Yeah, so if you look, as you said, the main focus at cost per ride is ridership.
Mm-hmm.
How we increase more riders is by making the system more attractive for people to use it. I think one of the concerns that some of the folks that that submitted surveys was that they don't live close enough to where the bus stops currently are. So as we add more we remove the
Right.
fares, we add more stops that are closer to where people live, we complete this route optimization study, ridership will continue to increase. So as ridership increases, the cost per trip goes down. So that's
So sort of in two parts, right? You're increasing ridership, you're trying to get as many people on as possible, but then is there secondarily a look at, okay, once you've reached your market share, decreasing that cost per ride with the diversity of, making it more efficient.
and
Because I'm
that's-
looking at the numbers as they go up, right? Each year, over 10 years, you're at 40 mil,
So again, that's where the change in the fleet size would also come in, because with the cutaways, you're looking at less fuel,
Right.
less reduction in maintenance costs. So all of that goes into the cost per trip, what we
Is
pay the
that
vendor
something that
per
is
revenue.
that is looked at by TDP as a metric for success, is decreasing cost per ride? And if not, is that something that you can provide feedback that there should be,
So the TDP is more of a broader planning document.
right?
From the TDP, there are recommendations that we can take to further look into more detailed plans or operating steps that we can take. So with the general planning consultant or the GPC RFP that we just did, we have 3 consultants that we can lean on for plans and documents.
Because I think it helps give clarity to push back on if Uber's cheaper or not. Along with the types of pickups, to your point, if you're going to go pick up 10 people at a school, it may not make sense for it to be an Uber,
Right.
right? So you got to blend the types of pickup.
Right.
But ultimately, understanding the cost per ride to be able to compare, at least financially, what makes more sense. If it's $10 to send an Uber, or like right now, it's $30, per rider, based on what I'm seeing here. I did the quick math, that if it's 3 times as expensive to do the one thing, with potentially less quality of service, it might be nicer to get picked up in an Uber, and it'd be, a third of the price. Just throwing this out, not so much pointing at you, just generally.
No, yeah,
for
it's
conversation and
it's a
discussion.
good question. With
able to make that
microtransit,
decision.
it doesn't the thing with microtransit is it doesn't scale very well. The more popular it becomes, the more expensive it becomes, the less reliable it becomes. With the fixed route system, it's the complete opposite. The more popular it becomes, the more cost effective it becomes.
Good point.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Reed?
Yeah, question. Regarding the microtransit, do they only do it in Palm City?
We don't currently have a microtransit system in Palm City. We're looking
Into Palm City.
We're looking at Palm City, and we're even looking at the city of Stuart for where it makes sense. That's what I said earlier. We're working with our technology provider to see what would be most feasible there.
And the only reason why I asked is because I'm looking at the 10-year plan, and it only mentioned Palm City for the microtransit. Is there yeah.
I think when we had discussed it, we discussed the city as being a nice incubator for it.
Just because I guess I wasn't sure, where do most riders, come from? Palm City, Stuart, Hope Sound,
So that's one of the challenges that we're facing is Palm City currently has no transit. So do we want to do some transit in Palm City in the form of micro, or do we want to undercut the existing fixed route service in Stuart, where we may see a successful microtransit system because quite a few of our riders are coming from Stuart. And with the Veterans Transportation Program, where we're using Uber, we did a heat map, and most of those rides are starting in the city of Stuart and ending in the city of Stuart. So it does show a strong need for micromobility in the city of Stuart, but we also have Palm City with zero transit.
And another question, you mentioned the Uber and stuff and the heat maps, do they send you all that data to where you can filter it by times when they're being utilized?
Yes.
Oh, wow. It's interesting. So you can filter out people that are after business hours, so it's more leisure, Uber and stuff like that.
Correct.
It's pretty neat.
Commissioner Mayfield?
Yes, I think this service is important. I think transportation for all is a very important service for citizens, and I think you did a good presentation, and I would make a motion to approve the Transit Development Plan Annual Report.
Thank you.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any objections? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Ash. We'll now hear from FDOT about the State Road 710 update.
Yes, we have Cesar Martinez from District 4 to make that update, please.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Beth. Again, Cesar Martinez with DOT, Planning Environmental Administrator. Quick update. Good thing is that we're still fully funded for the widening of the corridor. I reiterated that to Mayor DiPaolo before the meeting. Since I presented to you, I think in October timeframe, I had the pleasure to go with Secretary Brown to Tallahassee in December, so we did the same presentation to Secretary Perdue, and then he also did the same to the Florida Transportation Commission in January. So that was the project highlight, actually, for our district. So the project is in track to be adopted in the 5-year work program, so that will be signed by the Governor DeSantis on July 1st. However, we do realize that safety is still a concern. Early this year, we had a couple fatalities along the corridor, and we realized that at the pace that we're going on, right, it's not sustainable. Couple fatalities per year. We're still funded for construction in 29 and 2030, so we have a couple more years to go. So having said that, we have done several improvements in strategic locations as crashes start appearing, but now it seems to be more spread out. So having said that, we have a more dynamic team looking into it. So several offices in the districts are doing different efforts. For example, for safety office, recently started a social media campaign about speed management and distracted driving. So that started the weekend of the President's Day, holiday. That was a paid campaign in social media, Facebook, Instagram, and so on. During that weekend, we were able to reach out over 22,000 people, so people that saw our advertisement, and also generate some conversation in social media about safety along the corridor. We also targeting having some presence on different events along the corridor, like putting a safety booth and educate the residents and the commuters. Locally, or Treasure Coast Operations Office, they have went out to the corridor and assessed the existing conditions of our traffic control devices. So last week, they started pressure washing all signs along the corridor. They also will be replacing all signs that they see that are faded out and cannot be cleaned. They also will be refreshing all pavement markings. They started also installing a reflective tape in the post on all signs as well. They will be reinstalling the raised pavement markings on the road. So you see those reflective at night. So we have those in the center and in the edge line of the road. So those are about 20,000 plus of those devices that will be replaced. Between all that, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars in maintenance funds that are being expended right now along the corridor, again, to make it more reflective and people are more aware of the road as they drive. Our Traffic Operations Office, they are doing a speed management study, starting from the south portion approaching the town, so even the portion in Palm Beach County, and including the portion to the north as well. Some ideas that they're considering is installing speed feedback signs. So those are the electronic signs that you see on the side of the road that will tell you the speed you're traveling at, again, to bring awareness to the people that you're driving above the speed limit, slow down. Installing rumble strips in the center of the roadway, installing speed limits on pavement, and also they're considering lowering the speed limit during nighttime. So that will be a separate speed limit sign for nighttime conditions. Then lastly, our design office, in coordination with my office, the planning office, they're looking into the existing passing lanes. So we task the current design team, the team that is working in the widening project, we task them to take a harder look at the existing passing lanes and see if they can be retrofitted somehow, or if we can add more passing lanes in between them. So more of an interim solution until we can, again, start the construction 4 or 5 years from now.
Questions? Commissioner Capps.
You know, there's been a lot of angst about the timetable on this project, and what would have been a normal timetable, and how has it been accelerated? Like, when do we think this project will be finished, and what would have been the normal timeline for doing a project like this?
Yeah, as of now, I can say the normal time frame, this project right now has a normal time frame from the design to construction. We had a delay from the planning phase to design, right? Because it came on and off from the priorities list. The funding also came on and off. That was really the time frame that I would say was lost. But from the point that we're reinitiated design phase and this cycle obtained the construction funds, is following a regular time frame. What is driving that schedule is mainly the acquisition of the right-of-way that is needed along the corridor and the utility relocation. So we have to relocate the canal, the drainage canal, and also FPL distribution lines for 10 miles before we can start building the lanes. So that's really the main driver. As of now, those phases are on schedule, and we're funded for construction in 29 and 30. 29 for the realignment with 714, and then the corridor will follow the next year afterwards. Then construction timeline, I don't have a number right now, but I will think it will take maybe 3 to 4 years for the whole project to be complete after construction starts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions for Mr. Martinez? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from FDOT? Any comments from advisory committee members? Ms. Priest.
Good Good morning, Julie Priest, Vice Chair of BPAC, Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee for the MPO. I thank you for postponing the discussion on e-bikes and e-scooters. Just want to bring to your attention that for the past 2 years, members of our committee have expressed concerns, safety concerns, as more and more of these e-bikes and e-scooters are being sold to especially youngsters. And our biggest concern is the speed at which they travel, especially if they're on the sidewalk where you don't anticipate someone darting by you at 20 miles an hour. That is probably our biggest concern. Yet, we do not want to limit the younger children from riding on the sidewalks, especially with the Class 1 bicycles. We felt that that is important for them so that they can get back and forth to school. And also, the schools are considering not allowing these classifications anymore. We don't know where the school board is going to be taking that, but they are considering it from the reports that we received. Also would like to put this out there that as far as I know, and Beth, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we are still looking for volunteers with disabilities to fill our ADA spots on our committees. Am I correct? So I know that this is being televised, so I put a reach out to anyone with a disability who has time to volunteer for both the CAC and the BPAC to please contact Beth or someone in the MPO because we need your services. There are needs that those of us who without disabilities cannot address. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Would anyone from the public like to address us? Seeing none, we have notes that you can review. Any further comments, Ms. Beltran?
No, just quickly with the notes, we do have hard copies of the bike ped facilities map. You all are welcome to take some with you if you'd like. The development review map has been updated. It's on our website. Please call the office if you have any questions about that. The trip application this year is once again the Cove Road widening. We're going to have a TCTC, Treasure Coast Transportation Council meeting within the next couple of months, and that's been the MPO's #1 regional project for a number of years. And then also, we did do a UPWP modification where we transferred $150 from staff salaries into the LRTP consultant line item because we hadn't spent the $150 the year before. So I just always like to tell you any changes with the budget. So those are just the notes I wanted to
Thank you.
clarify for you all.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes, regarding the notes, I remember Chair Hurd had a question about the wetland mitigation regarding Cove Road widening, and that was towards FDOT.
Yes, she did, and then when the district secretary was here, as well as Vanita, she was the project manager, they had addressed that question. From what I understand, Commissioner Hurd or Chairman Hurd, you're welcome we can talk after the meeting if you have further questions on that. I'll be glad to find out information from FDOT on that.
Thanks.
Are you able to send me their response to that as well?
Yes, I think it's in the previous minutes. They were addressed at a board meeting, but we can get that to everyone if you all would like that.
Yeah.
Any further board comments? Our next MPO Policy Board meeting is April 20th, 2026, and we are adjourned.
Thank you.